Gentlemen, you got this. Let's rock it.
All right. All right. So, folks on YouTube. Well, wait. No, we're not. Hold on. All right. Well, hello and welcome. I see some of you are on. Give us a hello in the chat box. And yeah, we're getting ready to start soon. We have the lineup ready here, and I'm super excited. I see Amna is here. Mike and Reynolds, always good to see you here. Cool. So yeah, folks, put in a hello. Let us know where you're joining us from. And yeah, this RealPowerBI, for those who know about it, it's always an epic experience. We bring in projects from all over the globe and match them up with their amazing Power BI pros inside our training program, and magic happens. And you're about to witness some magic. Now, I'm gonna give you a heads up. So one part that we really mean is the real. So in a way, I also encourage these participants to be real about their presentations. So we may not, like, sometimes people just paint like a perfect picture. It's like, oh yeah, we did this and everything was awesome. But the reality is that real Power BI projects often don't go that smoothly. I mean, you do hit roadblocks and all that stuff. So yeah, so I'm hoping to hear, see all of that and learn from it, because that's what it's about. And that's frankly what I've loved about running my own business, and I love about seeing these guys go on the same journey, which is, man, if we get better every single day, it's unbelievable where we can be at the end of the year. So yeah, that's amazing. All right, so we got, oh, Charles is here. Hey, Charles. So is Matica. Bob says hello. Robro, hello from 7,000 feet. Monument, Colorado. Awesome, great. You know what? I have never been to Colorado except business trips, and those don't count because it's just, yeah. All right, I think, okay, we have 14 seconds. Tulio says hello from Brazil. Daniel says from Ghana. Amna is joining from Dubai. Matthew, hello in New York. Ming is here from Malaysia. Julian is here from Argentina. Brian from Surrey Hills, UK. Kevin from Kenya. Spencer from Pleasant Grove, Utah. LR says hi from London. Matthias is here from Germany. And I see Manjunath from UK. All right, folks, so let's, if I can man the controls here. There we go. Well, not that one. All right, so folks, we have our presenters ready. So what I'm going to do is just briefly talk about the program a little bit. So Real Power BI, again, you can get more information about realpowerbi.com. As I said, the idea is simple. We get projects from all over the world, and we match them up with our amazing members inside our pro level program. And that one is opening soon. So if you just go to learnpowerbi.com/pro, then you can find more information about it and join the waitlist. All right, so without further delay, we're going to kick it off with Kenneth Tyler. So let's, Kenneth, go ahead and share your screen. I'm going to cue you up on the side. And this is going to be a Power BI project about family-owned agricultural business in Belgium. So Kenneth, take it away.
All right. This was an absolutely great project with a really great client. They don't always go that way, but this one really did. And you need to enjoy them while you got them. This is a guy I had the pleasure of working with. He's really nice, and he learned a lot, and I learned a lot in this project. You can see that his goals were fairly standard. I have a set of reports for their company, which is growing. They have an application that they put their SAP data into that lets them slice and dice and get totals and calculations at all different levels, but they felt that it didn't allow them to do as much analysis as they wanted to do, so they were interested in Power BI. Now, when we started, he had never actually installed or opened Power BI, so he was starting absolutely from scratch. He got his data, he got Power BI installed, and we loaded up the data. His company sells fertilizer, a lot of it to home gardeners. They sell all over the world at this point. And so they have millions and millions and millions of rows of sales that they need to work with. The first thing we did is we spent some time building a fairly simple data model. This is not his data model, but it looks sort of like the one we built. A fairly simple data model with the data that he downloaded from SAP. We had to do a few merges and a few queries in Power Query, and we ended up with a nice star schema where he had his sales as a fact table, and then he had different dimensions that he wanted to use. It's one of my ideas is that by working on the data model, you can save yourself a lot of grief and difficulty and complexity later. And in this project, that really proved out. After we built the data model, he went ahead and built almost all of his reports on his own. They were fairly simple reports, graphs, maybe one slicer, maybe something to set a date range. He built maybe 10 or 12 reports. Nice conservative design. And I think he didn't have to write any DAX code. Oh, we wrote one measure together. There was one place where he wanted to use a measure to calculate something. But because he had a data model that was well laid out, almost all of what he wanted to do in his reports, he could just do by dragging graphics onto the report and dragging fields on, and it gave him everything he wanted. I was very impressed by how much he could do and how much he felt that this original business problem was addressed, or that he could address it at this point. It was a very ordinary Power BI application with no bells and no whistles and no tricks. But when he got it finished, his reaction was to say, this is what we need. This is what my company needs. And my heart gave a little leap for joy when I heard him say that. So that was the one hand that we worked on in this project. The other hand came about because they have about 9,000 products to analyze the sales and performance for, which is a lot of reports to go through and try and see what's happening in 20 different countries for all the different products. So I talked to him about, and he was interested to use some of the techniques of statistical process control, in particular XMR charts. What an XMR chart allows you to see meaningful variation in your data. The statistical rules that generate the chart point out when, not just when data is high or low, but when it is significantly high or low, or where there are trends that you should be able to analyze and find a cause for. This chart is an aftermarket control by a company called Cradec. It's a great chart. It's reasonably priced. Cradec gives really good customer service. And it's really easy to use. You drop it in, you drag your like 3 fields onto the chart, and it makes a beautiful charts for you. The problem, so the client liked the chart. The problem is he has 9,000 products and all kinds of different situations, different countries, different salespeople, different times of the year when things sell differently. So going through and looking at the performance of the 9,000 products was not a practical matter. So we wrote some measures. The math necessary to generate the control chart is not that complicated. We wrote some measures, relatively simple measures, to do the same calculations that the chart was doing. And what that allowed us to do is to have two measures, one of which catches the sales periods that are above the upper normal limit, and the other of which catches the sales periods which are below. So out of his 9,000 products, only 100 or so violate one of the two rules, which cuts down the number of products that they would need to analyze each month. And when you pick a product, the chart responds by showing you the history for that particular product. Now, he would probably end up wanting to create more detailed reports based on what he thought, like this product in the early months of the year was significantly, all of the sales were in the lower section of the chart. Depending on what he knows about the product and the sales, he might build several different reports to try and figure out what the cause was for this happening. On the other hand, he does not have to figure out why. If you look here, you see there was a high month and then a low month and then a high month. But the theory of the charts is that this sort of variation, which is inside of the normal limits, is basically just random. And you should neither try to analyze it nor improve it, because oftentimes all you introduce is more randomness into the system. So this is just a beginning. This is, if you want to think about it that way, a sort of advanced warning system, so that each month they can use this to say, this month, what sort of anomalies are there? What's not normal? And let's go analyze that. And that should focus their energy, focus the time they spend on their reports, and give them a lot more return in terms of understanding what's really going on with their business. I was very impressed in this project by the usefulness of Power BI as an application. Roger was really an example that if you apply yourself and if you have a little help around the hard parts, just an ordinary person can produce really business-worthy reports for his organization. And I was also impressed by how useful the statistical process control math is, how helpful it's going to be to drive their use of all these millions and millions of rows of data that they have incoming, to try and not just give them a rear view mirror picture of their business, but to look down the road and say, something is happening here, you should go figure out what it is. So it was a very happy project for me. Happy because Roger learned a lot, and happy because I learned a lot. And that's always the best of all possible worlds.
Wow. Hey, that was awesome. So folks, if you're watching, I'm just going to call out the awesomeness that was there. So there were two key things, right? One, you heard Kenneth talk about this whole idea of self-service BI, and that's what he was talking about, right? I mean, that he built the data model and the client was able to play with it and create their own stuff with little work on their part. And of course, and I love that, like, it's, how high can you go with Power BI, right? How many different directions you can go. And of course, you saw one avenue where using that custom visual, and again, the scenario was if you have thousands of things you're supposed to monitor, obviously humans can't do that. And that's where Power BI, the machine, can help in and say, hey, you don't have to sift through all thousands. Here are the 4 that need your attention. And that was amazing. So Kenneth, thanks for that. So folks, I forgot to call it out earlier, but in the description, you have links for all of our presenters today. So if you need help with your Power BI projects, find them on LinkedIn, reach out to them there. Kenneth, thank you so much. Let's switch over to our next presenter. And that is going to be Raul, and he'll be talking about warehouse and shipment company project right here in Georgia. So Raul, go ahead and share your screen, and we'll get going.
Okay. Hold on a second. Can you see the presentation? Or you are seeing, again, you are seeing the...
No, this is the like with the notes and stuff. That's what we're looking at.
Let me see if I can... My apologies. Let me see if I can switch it. If not, I will disconnect.
That's a fun with multiple monitors always.
Let me see. Okay. How about now?
Yeah, perfect. Look at that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you again, Avi, for inviting me again back to your show. It's an honor. Yes, as you mentioned, it's a manufacturer representative. They basically represent several manufacturers, and they warehouse in the central location their products, and they distribute them throughout the Southeast and Caribbean, Southeast of the U.S. and the Caribbean. Okay, I'll talk about them a bit more in a bit. We built several sales reports, a high-level sales report for them. They wanted to, like everybody, get some idea about their sales, the trends, what is going up, what is going down, group it by region, by client, by etc. So that's what we did for them. It was a great project working with Bob Lesko, incredibly knowledgeable man. We got along very well. We still are. We're still ongoing to work. Okay. A little bit about myself. I am a business data analyst. I help senior managers looking after obviously their sales. That is a key part, but more in detail about their warehousing needs, warehousing levels, efficiency, etc., distribution, stock, inventory control. I have over 20 years of experience in senior management roles, looking after very big projects here in the Americas and in Europe. Okay, so looking after, again, it usually starts with sales. Obviously, you have to be able to look at your sales, what products, and be able to classify the products, but then go deeper into the warehouse functioning, not only financially, but operationally. So that is the key part that I work with. I work very closely with the clients. The idea is to develop things with them so that they learn and they can take on from there, that they don't need me permanently, okay? As you can see there, I'm a family man. I have 2 beautiful small children and beautiful wife. We love to be outdoors. We love to show them the outdoors, have them explore. This was this morning at 5:30 in the morning, and she's actually the one that got me up to, Daddy, come on, it stopped raining, let's go out. So these are the main important things in my life. Power BI, business analysis, a close second, obviously. All right, the client. The client is, they're Fortney Sales. They're a big family-owned manufacturer representative, I said, and warehousing specialist located in Georgia, US. They represent a number of companies, the biggest being Kuriyama of America, a very big company that is throughout all the states. Fortney is the biggest representative in the US. They have a huge warehouse, over 80,000 square feet. They have over 40 years of experience. They know the southeast of US inside and out, and also the Caribbean. They are very data driven. So they already knew the importance of it. Bob really knows his stuff. Bob Lerzo, as I said, knows his stuff. He was already working with it, Excel. He had started Power BI, which was great because it gave me a roadmap of what it was that they wanted. Okay, let me see if I can switch over to Power BI. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Can you see the Power BI?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so like I mentioned, high level sales analysis as a first step. So these numbers are all changed and everything is anonymized. So the numbers, if they don't make sense in terms of volume, it's because they've been changed. Everything ranked by group, by product. Obviously, you want to see a delta. Now, this is month on month. You can obviously see it year by year. That can pinpoint towards where things are floundering or not, or they're excelling. Accumulative sales year to this year and last year. So we can see this one doesn't tell us too much, but this allows us to see the difference between year to year, this and previous year. Obviously, this year with the blip and the matrix that we're all experiencing, things went down and they stabilized in May. So
yeah. Hey, Raul, do you mind just popping out that chart, the one you're talking of?
Which one? This one? No, this one. Oh, this.
Yeah. Just pop it out. Yeah, that'll be
so
easy.
As you can see, it went down into May, and things have stabilized, which they've done remarkably well. Not to continue down as many have. They have, and it's starting to go back up, and they've stabilized throughout the year. Okay. Each rep in here. Okay. Each rep. Let me see. We can go back to the presentation. Each rep is called up in there. Okay, and this gives them a what do you call it? Gives them a gauge of how they are doing, not only year to date. So this gives them the line of what do you call it? Of the goal of the budget into here, and also the how they're doing up until now. This is year to date. This is done prorated depending on the workdays that have elapsed. This is the month to date. This is a very interesting one for the reps to see how they're doing, because it tells them down here how much do they need to sell per day in the remainder of the month of workdays. Okay, so to hit their goal, how much do they say? And then this takes into account holidays. Thanksgiving coming up. It shows them what do you call it? It shows them Thanksgiving and whatnot.
Oh, wow. So I just noticed that is the daily needed. So you're telling them that for the remaining days, that's the exact amount they need to hit daily, and
correct.
And that can be analyzed at a rep by rep level.
Yes,
really
yes.
Cool.
We get, so if they hit the rep, it'll filter it into it.
Love it.
Now exactly. So it tells them how much they should sell in the remainder of the month to either go up to the budget, to forecasted sales. Obviously, if they're above, it would tell them, look, you can sell this. So that's the idea. It gives them a very up-to-date gauge on where they are. We also have the sales by group. We distribute it by area, by region. It's they can drill down and expand. They can change it by group or by client. A very interesting point, beginning point to analyze products, and especially as Kenneth was saying, companies that have thousands of SKUs. Fortney has over 12,000 SKUs in there. They need to classify things. They need to see, okay, what is the top performance, the bottom? Usually it's very easy to see the very top, but not which is slightly low. We did a Pareto, which classifies them. It doesn't accumulated sales depending by client, or there's another one by product, that allows them to see what are the products that are in the top 20% products that sell 80%. Okay, what is representing 80% of my sales? This is a stepping stone later in the warehousing part of it to classify the SKUs by A, B, C, to know the A are the top. They are about 20% usually. That where they should focus their warehousing logic and zoning into. Okay, They can drill by this, drills everything else. So they can really drill down to see where things are doing very good. And likewise, not so good. Okay. It splits it up by what do you call it? By region. Okay. As I said, they are located in the south east of the US, and they do have some things in the Caribbean. This was because I changed some things and whatnot. It lost track of this one. They, from what I understand, they don't have a client in Mexico. It's all through the Caribbean, southeast of the US. Mm-hmm. Again, this is a part that they can use it. They have mentioned to me that they want to expand this to be used as a CRM, to allow the salespeople to keep track of the clients. If they're going to do a business trip, they can very quickly analyze and see who else is in that region. How, when was the last time they spoke to them? When was the last time they bought from you, et cetera, et cetera. So already having set up the model for this initial sales analysis, it has allowed us to start branching out into additional things without losing focus of the goal of looking after warehousing needs and improving the warehouse procedures, et cetera, et cetera. But this, because the model's already set up, talking to Bob, we talk constantly, we discuss ideas, we develop them as, using Agile, develop something quickly. If it doesn't work, perfect, we can change it. Bob and myself, we are both senior managers. I serve him as a sounding board to try out ideas, try out something new, what would work, what wouldn't work. So we go back and forth, and this has evolved, and it looks like it is evolving into being used as a CRM. As we know, with Power BI, you can put this into a phone. The reps, if they get a call from a client saying, where's my product, they can very quickly, with an up-to-date, real-time information, check on it. It's been delivered, it hasn't been delivered. We have a new shipment coming in, etc. So they're very excited about the possibilities that branch out from the initial modeling and the initial work that we have done. A thing that I was discussing to Bob, he was talking to other people, the people they represent, and when he described it to them and showed them what he had done and what we've done together, what he said was, look, this is something that we've dreamed of, and it's finally here. It truly sounds something like that, but it is something that we have dreamed of, and it is here. Something that can be done very easily, very quickly, and incredibly cost efficient. So I don't know, Avi, if you have some.
Love it. Hey, you missed the most important part. So folks, you want to get in touch with Raul. You've seen Austin as he's done, right. And of course, all of the presenters. So you'll see the link on the screen, but the links are also in the description of the video. And if you're watching this on mobile, then make sure to tap the title of the video. It's a little tricky, and it expands the description, and you will have the links to connect to these folks. So if you need help with your Power BI projects, well, you know who to call. So great. Yeah. I mean, and just as kind of we did with Canada, I'm gonna kind of share my quick takeaways. And it always astounds me. So of course, Raul, man, those were beautiful words. Like the dream is here. And anybody who is around Power BI, all of us, all of these presenters here, we often talk about the challenge where it does sound too good to be true, right? I mean, when you're talking to clients, I have to tone down my enthusiasm, because if you try to get too excited, then they don't believe you. I'm like, no tool can do that much that fast and cost that little. And of course I'm like, oh gosh, how do I prove it to you? So rather than of course I always say the best way to sell is not to sell. So when I'm working with a client or a prospective client, I'm like, let me just show you, right? So great, Raul, this is amazing. Thanks. And
as a side note, this, just looking at this and what you said, we have spoken to another company, a bigger one of their manufacturing companies that they represent, and they love it. They have tried many companies, and what they have spoken to many companies about an ERP, and what they have been told is, look, what do you want? The client doesn't know. What you have is like, well, we can do anything. Okay, what do you have? So working with somebody that has been there, that has been a manager, has helped them for me to bring to the table and say, okay, this is what I would suggest as the beginning point.
Yeah.
And that has opened the doors, because telling somebody what do you want, they don't know what they want. So, anyway.
Oh boy, that's brilliant. So guys, folks, this is what I've seen. People have been conditioned not to ask questions, because every time they ask a question, like, can we have this? Can we have this data, this report? They typically got a slap on the wrist or worse, right? And, because it was this, go to IT and it's like, oh yeah, sure, it's in our queue. We'll add it to the queue, come back in 3 months. So people got conditioned to frankly stop asking questions and stop operating from data, because just they couldn't access. Oh God, it's going to take 3 months. And business doesn't stop for that. Business got to keep going. So of course, businesses have gotten used to kind of flying by the seat of the pants, but that's not going to sustain itself. And we have seen, crises happen, pandemics happen, and the next thing is going to happen, right? I mean, all of these ups and downs. And you can't manage what you can't measure. So, hey, awesome presentation. Folks, if you love that, let us know in the comments. Let's queue up our next presenter. That's Eric. So, Eric, go ahead and share your screen. And we'll get going there. All right, there we go. And, yeah, let's see if we can hear you.
All right. You guys can hear me, right?
Yep, loud and clear. Hold on, let me put the display up. And yeah, folks, so this is going to be a logistics dashboard. So Eric, yeah, take it away.
Thank you, Avi, for having me once again. Let me switch this to presentation mode. Just bear with me while I switch screens. It went to my other monitor.
Yeah, you know what they say, if you put jam on your toast and it falls, it always falls on the jam side. I'm like, why?
There we go.
Perfect. Looks good.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this was a project concerning using logistics data, and it touches on what I do. So, Power BI consultant, and my niche is logistics and supply chain space. And we help organizations reduce cost, minimize risk, and maximize returns through adoption of Power BI. In this particular case, the client was, I'd say, a mid-size asphalt producing company in the Great Lakes region. And they have roughly about 7 different types of grades of asphalt. And the problem here that we're trying to solve is efficiencies in how to move the asphalt to their respective clients. Doing that in a cost-saving manner using the assets that they have. So that touches on the rates. And then there's maintenance related to the assets that they have. And then knowing geographically where the assets will be at any given time. And then budgets that also feed into maintenance. Now, positioning determines certain status as far as a rail car being loaded, it's not loaded, if it's empty or it's in a storage. So if you think of it from like what we're more familiar with, an airplane gets to an airport, in this case a terminal, and it's being charged a fee for while it's loading and unloading, or it's at the hangar, so something similar to that. And what the client was trying to see is overall, if they could save about $1 million, if there's any savings of $1 million per year. Now, just talking to the client, I could tell their maturity level as far as analytics and Power BI goes. They're still kind of the spreadsheet, in the spreadsheet zone. They haven't really adopted any either Power BI or any other analytics tool there. They do have access to a Tableau reporting feature, but they don't have the Tableau. They're not using the Tableau per se. It's through another vendor that they have. Client data, I had to do a little blurring there because I haven't got into like randomizing the data, so I could share it here with you guys. But yeah, so the client data, the data source was coming from Excel for the most part, and we also did a download of that Tableau application that they have. So again, here we showed the client that they can extract using Power BI, the powerful features of Power BI, that they could extract data regardless of what format it was in, Excel, web, it doesn't matter. Went through the transformation of the data with the client, did the modeling, did the visualization, presentation of what the reports look like, and also let the client know that this data can be updated, it can be refreshed. Power BI has all those capabilities. So this is our, there's a picture from our exact model, the data model that we used and the relations that we had. So it was very simple. I worked with Ian Bowman on this. He's coming up next after me. And, basically we just had about 4 tables here. Initially, I started going the direction of using the ultimate calendar that is available courtesy of Avi. And then we realized that it was a little too heavy for what we needed to do. So we just went to the native Power BI calendar that's built in there. So the first chart was a report on location and the status of the rail cars that they have. So if you clicked on these filters, it will tell you like which rail car needed attention, or which one was placed, which one was in storage, or which one was actually in transit. So when we presented this to the client, there's a lot of, wow, this can really happen. So they're very happy by what they were seeing. And for the first time, they could tell like which vehicles they needed to pay attention to. On the actual Power BI application, if you clicked on each of these are filters. If you clicked on them, it will filter down by which rail cars needed attention, which ones were placed, which ones were in storage, and then which ones were in transit. And you can see they're color coded here as well. Then the next tab was still under, this was just me showing how the filtering works for the location status. So you could filter down by the attention, and it'll show you on the map as well. If you look here, it'll show you on the map where the rail cars are. And this is for the placed, the ones that are in storage, and then the ones that are in transit. And then, so this is the routes taken by the different rail cars or terminals that they're hitting for the year. And you can filter down by the year, car loads by the car loads that they have by the terminal, different terminals, the car loads that they have, car loads by supplier for the asphalt, car loads by main railroads each month. They could filter down this by the month. Again, this is just putting a lot of analytical capability, and depending on the connection we have, this, we explain to the client, this could be near real time if they can refresh it as needed and get insights into what's happening. Then demarge is a fee that they get charged. So they wanted to keep an eye on that, depending on, they could filter down by location and see what fees they're being charged for the demarge. Demarge is kind of like good example, practical example right now would be Port of California. Due to COVID-19, containers cannot go in and go out, and the ones that are in there are being charged a fee for being in the yard. So similar thing here. Those rail cars can be hit by the demarge fees. So that there's a cost that the client is looking to get a handle of and reduce. Then we get into the maintenance part. So we broke down the maintenance by the different major components they had. The first graph here on the maintenance, the first chart, they have testing, painting, cleaning, valves, air brakes, and stuff like that, and broke it down by the charges that been levied to the different major components. We're able to calculate the total repair cost, the total budget, figure out how many cars they have, and the ones that are waiting to be repainted. So they have scheduled maintenance on these cars that bring them back to compliance. It's kind of like getting inspection for your vehicle every year, but in their case, I think it's every 10 years that they go through the recertification. And we were also able to drill down on the labor charges by location, the shop name and stuff like that, and show where on the map those maintenance services were happening. So this again put in their hands an ability to look at the not only just the labor charges, but which vendor, which shop, which vendor, which shop is charging them and how much. Now, one thing that they're not able to really get a handle on is labor charges, because a lot of this stuff is unionized, and labor is labor. It's hard to tell somebody, hey, I'm going to pay you less so that I save money on my end. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Then the client had requested also, because we're doing iterations, doing a few charts, meeting with the client every week and presenting and adjusting, getting some more data, adding to it and that stuff. So we were able to drill down on the maintenance. They wanted to see it by each car. So right here it's blurred, but this is each rail car, what type of maintenance has happened to the rail car over a period of time, and what the costs were. And what we provided them here too was we showed them, like with Power BI, you could search, you could do a search of the description. Maybe you wanted to search for a specific name. Maybe it's a valve of some sort, or a bolt, or a lever of some sort. You could just enter that name in here, search, and then you'll pop up everything that contains that name, and then you can drill down on that. Then last thing they wanted to find out is how many days a rail car is spending in a shop. And what this will help them solve is maybe figure out which vendors were efficient enough, and kind of start getting that idea of, well, let's try not get our rail cars going into this particular shop because they tend to take longer and put us in a situation where we're not as effective or efficient with the rail car. So we provided them that as well, showed each rail car, they could see how many days it's actually sat in a shop and for which repairs that was happening. So it's a good way for them to gauge, rate their vendors and get a preferred vendor to use. And as stated before, I worked with Ian Bowman on this. He was my, as I like to call it, my data analytics wingman on this. And thank you so much, Ian, for having me be a part of this project, since this was actually generated from your RealPowerBI. And I requested to hop on this from a logistics perspective. Thank you so much. And Ian can be reached at his LinkedIn handle there, where he's the principal consultant at Work Adaptive.
Awesome, and he's coming up next. And
right.
Great, and yeah, go ahead, tell us about yourself and your company.
Right. So my company is called N25 Business Solutions. To make things short and sweet, I just go by N25 Solutions. I can also be reached on LinkedIn. If you put that in your browser, you get to my page and you can see articles I've written about logistics. And you can also feel free to message me for any data questions. Even if you're not in the logistics company, I'm always eager to help.
Terrific. Yeah, and folks, the links are also in the description. So Eric, great presentation, man. Love that. I just had two thoughts running in my head. One was, and I loved how initially you talked about the pain points. And I remember stepping into Microsoft, and when I joined, I was all starry-eyed, and I thought that, oh man, it's going to be this perfect company with everything buttoned down. That couldn't have been farther from the truth, right? I mean, they were right, and right. So you walk into these companies, and these big companies sometimes, and yeah, right, and but then you look under the covers, and it's scary, right? So of course, you gave us a little bit of glimpse of the world that they were living in, Excel and all that stuff, sheets flying everywhere, formulas spilling out. And you showed us a new world, but I can't even imagine, like, we were looking at all the stuff you were presenting. I'm like, were they trying to do all this in Excel? So pretty amazing transformation. Love that. And another thing that caught everybody's attention, and definitely did mine, was that I'm not going to throw Tableau under the bus, but I did a shout out and like, hey, how many of folks out there are using their authorized or corporate BI solution as a data source for Power BI? And well, at least one person kind of chimed in. I've definitely seen that. So I think Billy was the one who said that. Yep, he often exports data from Tableau and Click to work in Power BI, and it's all good, So yeah, that was certainly awesome. All right, Eric, thank you so much. Let's switch over to our next presenter, and that is Ian. All right, so folks, you're gonna hear about a home construction company, PowerBIPro project. So Ian, go ahead and share your screen.
Good to go. Eric, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun working with you on that.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, hey, everybody. We are going to chat a little bit about this this construction company called Ameritex Homes and the journey that I've been on with them. This is actually a bit of an extension. This was a Real BI client from about 6 months ago, and we've been working together since. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go along. Let's see here. Oh, or my dog will, whichever. So you can find me there on LinkedIn. I position myself essentially as the data analytics wingman, helping leaders who have really significant growth goals ahead of them, right? And helping them get their strategies into action using data. So that's the gist of what I do. This client they build essentially low-income homes in lots of different communities. They build them in a way that's infill. So they'll take a vacant lot or a handful of vacant lots over the course of, many city blocks. So they're not building like brand new developments. They're trying to rehabilitate neighborhoods by building nice new homes that are very energy efficient and just really nice inside, but that are affordable for folks. And so that's their mission, is building affordable homes. Let's see. They, like a lot of my clients, they are construction kind of project oriented, where they've got people out in the field all over the place. They're doing hundreds or thousands of projects a year, and you can't just kind of walk onto the factory floor and see everything working because it's all over the place, right? They do have really audacious growth goals, like, 100% growth goals, that kind of thing. So that's pretty amazing, and they're doing it. They use multiple online software. They're very forward leaning on software, right? They've got people in the field with tablets. They're communicating electronically all the time, but the data that's in those systems doesn't necessarily talk to each other. The reporting that's available in each of the systems is sort of does something, but not really at the scale that they're working at or know that they want to, right? And they don't have a team of enterprise developers or anything like that. There's just a very small centralized IT presence there. And they've done, they're senior level folks who have done big IT before, and this doesn't feel like it needs that. The huge upfront investment, the data warehouses, the everything like that in the way that often people describe it, right? But they do have hundreds of thousands of rows of data, millions of rows of data. They've got, it's just too much for Excel. It's too much for a lot of things. And the refresh is absolutely critical, right? To be able to make sense of it, because they've got people moving around out in the field every day, and they're trying to help them make good decisions. Okay, so a couple of things they were interested in focusing on, right? As strategic concerns, they wanted to be able to share information back and forth between the folks in the field and the folks that are centralized and trying to help them coordinate. They really wanted to shorten the projects over time to where they didn't have to borrow a lot of money in order to build a house and get it to the end and get it sold or into the hands of a property management company. And ultimately they had this question like, okay, this business is very kind of push, here's your next task, here's your next task, right? But could we go to more of like a pull system? Like somebody wants something here, we can build it really fast in order to meet that demand, so that we're not just constantly, pushing things and then they wait, pushing things and then they wait. So those are some of them. The proof of concept, we focused on a few different things, like you've heard before, right? We centralized the data model. We set up a dev environment and kind of test environment. We got some simple reports into the hands of users so they could just go from the Excel only world into some of the, how does the UI and click interaction work in Power BI? And then most importantly, I think to the proof for them was that we could get all the way to a regular refresh, right? And that was a big question because, seems like a lot of volume relative to what a lot of people are used to and what. Let's see here, do I have anything? No, that's good. Simple data model. At that point, it was a beautiful little star schema, and a good place to start. That let us do our first reports, which we kept kind of intentionally simple and Excel-like, and I'll just, some of the most simple things that you can do is just, okay, now I've got a couple different tables. Let me just bring information from a couple different tables together. That's kind of hard in Excel, traditional Excel at least, right? And so here was one. This looked a lot like an Excel spreadsheet they had, but it only had the vendor number, not the vendor name. That was on a different table, so we just brought that in, easy. Gave a little way to slice and dice, different tasks that they might want to look on. You click on one of the little bars, and of course it filters the whole thing. And then who are the other vendors that could possibly do the same task, right? Simple, got the ball rolling, refreshable. We proved out the data refresh all the way through using data flows, data connection gateway, connecting straight up to their data sources, a couple SharePoint files, that kind of thing, all the way through. And at that point, we had already made some pretty good strides. So Larry, who is the project sponsor, again, senior level, strategy driven, good connection to the CEO and across the company, had some nice things to say about how far we'd come, and not just the technology side of it, but the business side of it, and that combination of technology and business being the key, right? I loved the project. We were really well aligned on kind of the approach and how to do it. The concept really proved that Power BI could work for them, so we agreed to keep working together after the project on kind of a regular engagement. And we've actually done 2 of them and are scoping out our 3rd now. Now, the things that we were working on were, in the beginning, were sort of like, okay, proof of concept, but the things that they wanted to do were really much more strategic, like how do we change the way we do business, and not just in one department, but across all of the departments that need to cooperate in order to do that. And so, we kind of had to come up with ways and roles to do that. And some of them are pretty, good patterns to use in a situation like this. So Larry, who's that strategic connection, he kind of prioritizes, he frames the strategy from conversations with CEO and others, and convenes, gets the right people together. He's, he certainly has the ability to call them up and say, hey, would you join us? And, spend a couple weeks with us, 1 day a week, looking at this, or an hour every couple weeks. And then the users, usually we try to get a cross section from different departments, and they kind of shape how it needs to work in order to accomplish that goal. And I'm there to facilitate. I usually run the sessions, and then I kind of build something in between. Sometimes we do something a little bit live right there, and then show what's possible so we can keep going, right? Now, over the course of the last couple engagements, those first things really kind of blew out. We've got, more than 60 pages of reports at this point. They go from kind of those very simple left-hand reports that I didn't even build. A lot of times it was, a handful of other people that have learned to do the reports. I do the data model. They do some of those reports. We've got some that are a bit more polished and, dashboardy, but with the ability to still drill down very quickly from there. And then on the right-hand side, we've got one that's kind of a bit more experty. There may be only 3 people in the company that can really, really use it well, but it really helps them to get to their goal. And then we've got a bunch of them that are sort of, oh, we tried that and it worked for a little while, but then we did something different and it worked even better, right? And so we've got this kind of sprawl going out there. And I think that's a natural stage, right? Where you've opened up, you've tried a bunch, you've learned some things, you've gone a little further, and now what do you do next, right? And that's sort of the stage that we're at. And so I think that's going to change the character of a little bit of what we do next. We do have some governance things in place. We kind of had to pretty quickly in the engagements. We've got a development test environment and then a production environment. We have moved into some financial kind of reporting lately. And so we've got an extra security group for the financial folks. We've split the data flows, kind of the pre-processing of bringing the data out of the main systems, from a data set, which is where we kind of do the modeling, from the reports. Those are all 3 separate entities, and that way somebody else can create a new report, connect it to the data set, and it's good to go. And I typically do the modeling in the data set. And we've got an IT admin that does the connecting up to the data sources. We initially actually embedded the Power BI stuff right into Teams. And that was actually really helpful at first because it was where people were already working, and oh, now here's this dashboard, right? It was helpful for visibility and for them remembering it was there without having to think about where do I go to get it. But once people were familiar, they wanted it on a separate screen. They knew where it was. They knew there were a bunch of other reports they could get to easily there. So we're actually undoing the Teams thing at this point, just because they know it's there, right? And there's some little differences about how it works within Teams versus out of Teams, and they just kind of prefer the native experience. We also built a few reports that are meant to be used by the people in the field who have Surface tablets, and so those are a little bit different as well. So talking about that sprawl, right? But simplicity is kind of a key to strategy, to moving in one direction. And so we had been building these reports with, you know, X number of this task per month or per week, and sort of feeling our way towards something more granular. And it was, the weight of it was starting to get to be granular around like the week level, with a little bit dipping into the day level. And the CEO about a week and a half ago, was giving a speech, and he's actually moving up a level, and lots of other people are moving up a level. So they're having a reorg in the good way, right? And he's giving this speech, and he's talking about the degree to which, now that we can kind of see those things, we really need to get on a pace of building X amount of something every day, right? And so that's different. That's different than saying you've got a goal per year or a goal per month, right? Everybody knows if you've got a goal per month, maybe a bunch of things slide in at the end of the month, right? To their place so that they count for the goal. Same kind of thing happens with a week. But when you're trying to build something that quickly, build a house in 100 days, build hundreds of houses, each in 100 days, right? You really got to bring it down to that daily level. And so that's what they're really, I think part of our next step is, how do we take this statement? We need to build 5 a day, every day, for example, right? Or the equivalent of that in terms of tasks, and drive that throughout the organization, or make it so obvious every day, right? That's what needs to happen. And so let's see here. So that's what I'm thinking about now, is how do we remove some of the things that we've built that say other things at a weekly or monthly level? How do we bring it to the day level every time, and use a really consistent, concise format for showing if things are on target or not? And regardless of whether it's a builder, a market, a vendor, deliveries, anything that we need in order to hit that goal, how do we put it all in the same context of X per day, right? And so this is one of those things that we've started to use in a few of the reports, but we'll really focus on, right? And so Larry's even asked a question, and we were talking today actually. He said, how do we make it so that when people in the field log on in the morning, they get a dose of what the history has been, right? Oh, are we making 5 a day? For the, how are we doing yesterday, the day before? How are you doing, right? On that same kind of thing. So that is what's next for us. And any of these kind of engagements that are more strategic, there are a few ingredients that I'm still learning and kind of adding to, but here are some of them. One, connect people with strategy. So you got to make sure that you got that strategy. You got to get the people involved in shaping it, right? In shaping what that solution is. So you can have an idea, but it's going to have to go through testing and shaping by folks that are actually going to use it. Be pretty ruthless about prioritizing what you're going to focus on first. If you're trying to do 10 things at once, it gets really tough. And that doesn't mean don't pay attention to the other interests, or maybe somebody else wants a report, but just make sure that it's not sucking off so much attention that you can't keep advancing on that strategic thing that's going to be across all of them. All right, visualize bottlenecks and drill down into them. Got to do some exploration and adapting. So we talked about, a bit of a sprawl. It's okay. That's okay. That's going to happen, right? You're learning something along the way, and don't be afraid to go back and get rid of them and say, yeah, that was okay for the time, but we learned something, and now we're going to stop doing that and do something else. And then getting to that heartbeat metric. That's what I'm calling kind of the way the CEO phrased that, is that here's something that everybody can get their mind around, instead of everybody having to think about whether the number of tasks that were done last week were enough to meet the monthly goal, right? Just get it all to one metric that is sort of a heartbeat, a pulse. And that's the gist from me today. I think, you can reach me on LinkedIn there. You can see me having a meeting of the minds with our little dog that sometimes frequents my couch. And if you know somebody who's wrestling with that audacious growth goals and who needs to work across different organizations, definitely feel free to ping me. Had a little bit of an exciting news item, which is that I, along with somebody else, went through all the Microsoft data platform competency stuff, and now we are sharing a silver competency or a silver partner as of last week. So that was pretty exciting. And that's it.
That's amazing. Hey, congratulations on the partner silver level. That's great. So hey, man, that was pretty mind blowing, and there was a lot of Power BI stuff. But what caught my attention was how you talked about strategy. And in fact, so folks, I don't know if it's happening to you on YouTube, but I feel like I'm like re-examining all my life choices, right? And I'm thinking, am I being strategic for my company, but also at a personal level? And that's important, isn't it? Right? I mean, what have you focused on? And we can get lost in that day to day. But I feel like I made a connection with what you kind of closed with. You talked a lot about strategy with what you started. And that I feel is like the North Star. And you started that about talking about the company, like what's their goal. And it's such a noble goal, right? They want to build housing. They want to go to these neighborhoods and kind of rehabilitate them, right? I mean, and who are not in a good shape, and build new homes, energy efficient and affordable. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. So I feel like you cannot be strategic without a North Star. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think especially that, Simon Sinek, start with why. If you're going after something audacious, it's going to be hard, right? And so having, not just the tools, but the why are we doing this? Because it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Is just critical.
Yeah, because I can't imagine, like, are we going to build a strategy around earning more money? I mean, I don't know. That just feels wrong. Like, do things which don't belong, right? So, hey, love that story. And of course, another one of my favorite was the heartbeat metric. That is just golden. and I totally get it. And I love the phrasing there, right? So metrics a lot of times, they end up just being numbers on the board. But what if it was something that, people connected with? It really meant something to them. So I think that captures it all. And I think that's a brilliant idea. Awesome, folks. So
cool.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you to all our presenters. And again, folks, you can connect with them on in the description. You have links for every one of our presenters. So if you need help with your Power BI projects or found something interesting in the presentations, first of all, leave a comment and let us know. And if you learned one thing new, there was one thing that kind of got you excited that you liked, and let us know in the comments. And again, to reach out to these folks, connect with them over LinkedIn if you need any Power BI help. Now, these are part of our pro level program, and this has been going on for 2 years with new members, of course. And we're opening enrollment again in January 2021. We're looking forward to welcome a new batch of members. And if you want to learn more about that and join a waitlist, you can go to learnpowerbi.com/pro. So, folks, I hope you enjoyed the presentations as much as I did. I think there was a lot to learn. Again, big thanks to our presenters. We will all see you next time.